and welcome to Culinary Solo Roleplaying. This is just going to be a quick overview slash kind of tutorial slash why I use one-page solo engine. It is an oracle that you can indeed acquire from itch.io. It is completely free oracle. To use this oracle you need two different looking d6s and also a deck of cards. But what is a great addition to this system, they actually have their own phone app that you can download where you can actually use all of their oracle tables with the press of a button, and this is really handy. So let's have a quick look, shall we? Well, starting off we have how to play, simply enough. This is aimed to be used with another RPG rule system of your choice. Basic tips on how to actually use the oracle. And here we already get into maybe the most difficult aspect of the oracle, and it's the usage of playing cards. The playing cards themselves are not that difficult, but then we have the different aspects that the suits bring into the role. Let's get into those a little bit later on the video. Let's just first have the overview of the whole system, and then we can come back into these suits and we can talk through of what these aspects could actually mean. And there's also optional rules if you want to use only deck of cards or only dice. That's possible as well, which is quite nice. But I personally really enjoy the 2d6 resolution, and I also usually have a deck of cards in hand. Like in my solo things I usually use just the app because it's so handy, but when I'm playing with a group and I am the GM, I usually use this oracle as an assistant as well, and it's really nice to roll the dice and flip the cards on the table, because it's also very interesting for other players to see the GM to get advice from the cards like a real oracle, and they're like, oh, what's happening here? So now we get into the thing that makes or breaks for many people one-page solo engine, and it's the lightness of the system. There are not that many options, but the options that it gives can be really open-ended. For example, here we first have set the scene, and then we have 6 options. Hostile forces oppose you, an obstacle blocks your way, wouldn't it suck if, an NPC acts suddenly, all is not what as it seems, and things actually go as planned. But usually when people are like, that's there's not many options, I think this is more than enough. Basically all the complications and all the things that are happening usually in stories somehow can relate into these 6 things, because these can be still vague. This can be very vague, and you can really do anything out of these 6 things. And usually you should roll extra tables to determine what these things are. And then also you can roll 2 d6s, and the first d6 is the complication that we just read through, and the other one is an extra dice, and if this extra dice comes up with +5 you can have an altered scene. And this scene alteration means an additional modifier or additional aspect that can happen during this scene that has been set. And we have again here 6 options. A major detail of the scene is enhanced or somehow worse. The environment is different. Unexpected NPCs are present. Add a scene complication, so you could actually go back and roll another complication from the d6 table before. Add a pacing move. I love this table, and we will get back into that really soon. And also add random event. And here we get into the thick of it, the actual oracle yes no, what we usually use most of the time in different oracle systems. And here are some people that will cringe because there is so little options, but for me it's this is all I need. There's actually ever 3 probabilities that I really need in a situation. Is the thing that is gonna happen, is it likely, is it unlikely, or is it 50-50? And at least for me, it's all I need. And you also have your yes and yes but, or no and no but. But it works in a way that you roll a second different looking d6. 1, it's but, and if the other die is 6, it's and. What I really love about this, for example, I have used Mythic GM Emulator, where the yes and or the no and is basically like a crit. The probability to get the yes and or no and is quite low. When we are only talking about d6, and when you roll the oracle, you will get yes and yes but answers more frequently. It's much more interesting to get yes and no and answer, or even yes but no but answer, than just simply yes or no. And this one, oracle, how much, or how big, how good, how much. Really simple, just roll a d6 and it will tell you. And this is so simple, and this is probably that people have used anyway, to have an oracle that actually says it, or that you have the app that you can just press and it says how much. It's just like, it gives you so much headspace. Like this wouldn't need to be here. Like everyone can just roll a dice, like a d10, and see like how much. But like, yeah, I really appreciate this. Weirdly enough, I really appreciate this table. And here we get into my favorite table, GM moves. Absolutely fantastic. I think many people who have played solo games sometimes has the situation where they ask like, what now? Like, where this is going? And they need something to happen. That's where GM moves table comes in. And it will give you an option that can happen during the thing that, like, when you feel like the flow of the game is slowing down. So you can foreshadow a trouble, you can reveal a new detail, an NPC takes action, advance a threat, advance a plot, add random event to the scene. And another great table, failure moves. This is so good. Sometimes it's so hard to come up with like penalty for a failed check, especially in solo games, and sometimes even like in regular play. And especially when you play solo, it feels sometimes like, was I too harsh on my character, or was I too soft on the character? And you just don't want to make that decision. What happens after the roll is failed? But even then, like if the roll is failed, it's quite boring if nothing happens, and it's just like you have the locked door and the door doesn't open. What now? So these failure moves gives you 6 options that could happen from your failure, or from the player's or the character's failure. We have the simple: cause harm, put someone in a spot, offer a choice, advance threat, reveal an unwelcome truth, foreshadow trouble. And these failure moves are really, really good, especially if you want to play solo horror game, which I'm probably gonna play at some point in my channel. Like and subscribe if you want to see that. Again, this frees up your mental space, frees you from taking the responsibility of what happens to the player characters or your characters during solo, and it can really help you pick you up after the failure, which feels like that you have hit a wall. So, mwah. These 2 tables are basically why I use this oracle, like, exclusively. And here we now get into the actual like random events and like the word tables that many oracles have. And unlike other many oracles, the tables are quite tight. There are not many options in those tables. There are actually 14 options in every table. Like there are gods in every suit in a god deck. And here we have like simple, like if you want to create random events, then it says what happens. Action focus, you just pull one card, and then involving topic focus, you pull another card. So it's also much faster to get the results, because you don't have to have like dice, roll it once and then see the table, and dice, roll it another time and then see another one, because you can just pull 2 cards. And then, because the tables are a lot smaller, you can just see the suits. Okay, so we have physical, this word, and we have technical, this word, and you already are going forward. So why I love to use this oracle during like a gameplay with a group is just that, because it's so fast. And if you have like complex questions, you can use the focus oracle, and if you need even more deeper answer, you can take another one. So here we have the oracle focuses, and what the focus means in the oracle, it just means the type of an oracle, the overall focus of the words. So we have action, we have detail, and we have topic, verb, adjective, object. And like you can see down here, there are not many options. Like I said, there are 14 options. On the first glance might seem like that's not much. Usually you have like a D100 table of different words, so I have only 14. What can I do? How many combinations you can have? Well, now we get into the suits. I think this is the perfect time now to talk about the different suits. Even though I'm not done with the overview, but I probably leave you guys like marks on the video, so you can skip this part if you just want the overview. But okay, I try to be concise with philosophical things, which is really not my specialty. I tend to ramble, but let's try this anyway. So addition to different focuses, every focus can have a different domain. And this is usually the part where like people are really confused about this oracle and are like, how you can actually use this. So here we have physical, technical, mystical, and social. These are by design very open-ended, so everyone can find their own way to interpret these things. Because they are so open-ended, that's why they can be so few answers. But I can give you now one example how I see these different domains, and you can maybe tweak that if you want, or use it as it is if you want. First of all, I see the two colors of the domains very differently. Like the black colors of physical and mystical, I feel like they are more focused on the present moment and to the individual, rather than the whole world and like cultures and communities. They are very like in the present, very individualistic domains. And I think the physical is maybe the most easiest one to understand. It is the most obvious domain there is. It is the physicality, it is the appearance, it is the existence, it is everything that you can see at first glance. So for example, if we take like an action focus example word, like protect. In a physical term, protect means in that context what it can most obviously and most physically be. That could be a door, that could be a cage, something that is physically in that moment protecting something or someone. Then the second individual domain is the spades, mystical, and it has these helping words meaning and capability. I think it's kind of the opposite of the physical. It is something that can be really, I know like the mystical sounds like it's like something to do with magic or gods or supernatural, but it doesn't have to necessarily be supernatural. If you have basically like a mystical protect, it could also be a person's idea on, like it could be a memory of in a situation where your characters need to do something fast in order for them to shield themselves from a difficult situation, and if they are looking for options like what they could do. If you get protect mystical, that might mean like you have the idea, like you have the ability or idea or memory already that can help you. But it could be themes related to spirits or magic or like supernatural. So if you are in a place that has protect mystical, might mean that there are some forces that might block your memories or protect you from this kind of mind influence, or there could be something that protects your soul from demons. But it's definitely something in that moment, or has been, like it's something very on an individual level. Hello, post-edit Walter here. Now when I saw myself on the editing board talking about the mystical and physical domains, I really feel like I did a really bad job, especially on the mystical side. Hopefully I can now rephrase and emphasize some important aspects now when you have heard basic ideas of mystical and physical domains. The idea what I'm trying to get across in the video is that physical and mystical domains are really like the two sides of different coin. The one side being the physical side, which means everything that is tangible in that moment, and mystical being everything that is untangible in that moment. So for example, if we have a concept of like magic in a room, physical domain, that would mean it's something like a glowing orb or something that you can really like sense and see in the presence of that room. Or it could be even an actual fog that is filling the room. That it's something that you can see, you can sense, and it's something concrete in a sense. While mystical, if you have a like magical device or magic mystical, that's something you cannot necessarily sense on the first glance. It is something that surrounds the space and it's affecting the space, but it's not observable. You might not sense it on a first glance. And the combining factor is that it is something very inside that very confined scene in a sense, where the social and technical aspects are more akin to stretch out of the scene that you are currently in. Hopefully that helps a little bit more. And let's get back into the video. Next we go into these red suits, which I like to call more like communal or community domains. These usually involve more people and are in that context related to the culture or other beings around that environment that you are in. Technical mental operation is very much aligning with different kinds of formalities and also technical capabilities of that certain environment. Helping words like mental operation, which means like it can be both. Like it can be something physical, but it also can be something functional in an ideological sense. For example, protection technical could mean that you find a letter that gives you an immunity against police, for example. And finally, we have the social, personal connection. Like the thing states, I think this is the domain that really binds these both like colors together. Social is something that also like can be, it's also something that like binds the individual to the group or the society around them. So for example, if we would have protection social, that could mean maybe like that you see a mother, that could be that you see a letter from your hometown that tells you that you can come home, that it's safe now there. It's most definitely usually an aspect of connections between individuals. And these are how I see these different suits. And they are blending together, and usually you can get like, when it can get really complicated sometimes is when you pick multiple cards and you have like those two words, and you also have those domains that can like intertwine together. So you might have like protection twice, but you have like protection physical and protection technical. But then it's like really clear that it's okay, then it's a physical door where you need some kind of code that you can open, for example. That's the mental gymnastics that you have to do with this oracle, because it is so light, it's also very vague, and it might require some time to like get hang of it. And like I said, these examples that I gave you about the domains, they are not like absolute truths. You can use them if you want, you can make up your own. That was just an example. It's always good when somebody gives you this advice, but don't think about it too much. Okay, let's keep going. Let's get the full overview. And one of the generators, again, which I just love. Generic generator. It creates anything you want it to generate. Towns, spaceships, factions, magic items, taverns, monsters. But it works really well. And I actually use this generator quite a lot in my playthroughs. as well. It knows how to ask the right questions in that moment. What it does, how it looks, how significant it is. So simple questions that give you everything you need in that moment. And if it doesn't, you can just roll it again, and at that point you probably have some kind of idea what it is. And then we have here many things, but first we have the plot hook generator that can help you create and start for your adventure if you want it. Objectives, again, D6, really simple. Eliminate a threat, learn the truth, recover something valuable, escort or delivery to safety, restore something broken, save an ally in peril. So that's that. That's your objective. Then adversaries, who are against you in this adventure. A powerful organization, outlaws, guardians, local inhabitants, enemy horde or force, and a new or recurring villain. I would say this adversaries table is the only thing that I don't love in this oracle. I think that's at the same time quite generic, but also very leaning on a fantasy theme in a sense. I know you can have guardians in the galaxy, for example, but a little bit more something else. And then you have the rewards as well. Money or valuables, knowledge and secrets, support of an ally, advanced plot arc, and unique item or power. Again, I would probably like that the 1 and 2 would not be the same. I would love to have one more, but that's quite easy to tweak if you want it. Then we have NPC generator. What is interesting with this is that you use the cards to determine the identity of the NPC, which means the domains are in effect here. So for example, you could have an outlaw, but you could have a physical outlaw or a mystical outlaw, which can give you a whole different story. Or you can have a technical outlaw or a social outlaw, which right off the bat gives you so much different variation within the outlaw. With the goal, again, we have 4 domain variations of each of these. So again, this is so simple, but gives you surprisingly quite a lot of options. 52 options to be precise. And it's quite funny to also give your NPCs a notable feature. It's really a small thing, but it can become something really much bigger if you if you want it to become. You can ask the oracles their attitude to PCs, and also what they are what they want to talk about with you, which is really nice. Another huge selling point of this oracle. You have dungeon crawler and you have hex crawler, which is amazing. I would use this oracle just for these. If I would want to sometimes use different oracle, I would still probably use One Page Solo Engine to use the dungeon crawler and the hex crawler. They are very good, and I'm using them all of the time in all of the genres. They work really well. So first, if you don't have any idea how the dungeon looks, you can ask how it looks and how is it used through the cards. And when you begin the dungeon, it always has 3 possible exits. In each room you go into, you roll the dice to see if there are any additional exits. It can really continue on quite far, or it could stop on its tracks on in the first 3 rooms. If you want to be more in charge on how many rooms you have in certain dungeon, you could easily have 3 tiers of dungeons, which are tier number 1, tier number 2, and tier number 3, and you roll 2d4 per tiers. So small dungeon has 2d4 rooms, medium dungeon has 4d4 rooms, and big dungeon has 6d4 rooms. And in every room you have location. It can be typical area, transitional area, living area or a meeting place, working or utility area with a special feature that you can draw on the cards if you want. Location for a specialized purpose. That's all. And usually that is enough. When you have the theme of the dungeon, you already know what kinds of rooms there can be in there. So this is all you need, and because it's this general, you can use it in space games, you can use it in horror games, you can use it in modern games, you can use it in fantasy games. And it works wonderfully. Then you roll for encounter. None hostile enemies, an obstacle blocks the way, unique NPC or adversary. That's simple. And that's really good, and it gives you the variation of like not every room has anything. It gives you the variation of not every room must contain an enemy. Sometimes there are different obstacles, sometimes there are unique NPCs, and it's just enough, and it's just perfect. And then you have objects, mundane nothing, an interesting item or clue, a useful tool, key or device, something valuable, rare or special item. Then you can combine the game of your choices, like treasure tables, with this object system. And then you have the total exits from the room. Either dead end, one additional exit, or 2 additional exits. The dungeon crawl is nothing too fancy. It doesn't make you create like this multi-room kind of beautiful wonders. But when you are in the thick of it, when you are in the thick of solo adventure, and you are within the story, like that the room procedures is this simple. It really keeps the game going, and I think this is the perfect amount of complexity, because there is the level of complexity within these rules. And when you have a great idea for a room, you don't have to roll. You can be like, oh yeah, it's a staircase, so of course there are at least 2 exits, and you don't have to believe everything that the table says to you. You can just pick the things that you want. And I will move myself out of the way so we can still see the hex scroll procedures. So yes, you can make random hex maps and have a random events during your hex scroll travels with this oracle. So use this to generate maps of larger areas. Whenever the character enters a hex, generate the terrain and contents of all surrounding hexes. Then roll an event for the current hex. So when you go into a hex, it can be either same as the current hex, common terrain, uncommon terrain, rare terrain. So that's the only thing that it doesn't give you the terrain directly. So if you want to use this like to create your own environment, you first need to think about maybe like a list of terrain that you would think that your hex scroll adventure would have. And then you roll for features. It's simple as that. You roll a d6, and every time you get a 6, there is some kind of feature in that hex. And the features are notable structure, dangerous hazard, a settlement, strange natural feature, new region, and 6 dungeon crawler entrance that you can create using the dungeon rules. And every time you move a hex, you can roll for event, and that's it. That's basically it. And the third page is just some developer notes on the design decisions, which is really nice if you want to like get into the questions like why the things work as they are working right now. For example, I think one example that we could watch from here is why using a deck of cards, and it's exactly what I said about it being fast. Like many people who tried this system wonder why a deck of cards was chosen for randomization. The reason because playing card carries more information than a die, because yeah, it can actually be basically like a 2 die rolls in a 1 because of the domain you get. So basically when you draw 3 cards you like roll, you get like 6 different aspects once. So it's really like snappy. Especially here, this down box. One-page solo engine was designed to provide every tool needed to run a solo game using any game systems, while using as few words as humanly possible, because the designer of this, who was written by Carl Hendricks, there you go, you can see it there. Thank you, Carl, for this amazing oracle. The idea of this oracle is that it is very light, and it should not be that way, that you have to like page through like 15 pages just to get a quick oracle yes or no answer. And I completely agree. And that was the one aspect that I actually unfortunately kind of like got tired on with Mythic GM. I love Mythic and the tables, and I still sometimes use the Mythic GM, like the second edition's table, with this oracle. But when I want to like just play a story and I want those answers quickly, this is much more like snappier system. And it's really hard for me to always just like stop the game and pull out my mythic book and start to like skim through it and be like, oh, where is the answer I need? And that's why I prefer using one page solo engine. And thank you for listening this long rant of a simple system. Hopefully you got now some idea of how one page solo engine works, how you can use it in your solo games, and why, at least personally, I think it's one of the best oracles out there. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more tutorials. And also, I highly recommend, if you want to see this oracle in action, go ahead and watch my walkthrough of Operation Amber Point, where I used this oracle and the upcoming rules of Outgunned from Two Little Mice, which is this kind of very Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid kind of action adventure campaign, a mini campaign that I'm running right now for myself. It's a solo playthrough. That's all for me. Have a wonderful, wonderful time of day, and hopefully I see you around. Bye.